here now. Knight f3, not really doing anything. So I think this is a better setup for my rooks in this position than the e8, d8. The e8 rook was kind of just a joke. Now a4, a3, try to break up his queen side. Here he has b1, retreat square. But nevertheless, I think I should loosen up his structure if I can. I don't have anything concrete, it looks like. So if you guys have any questions about chess or about me, just send it in the chat. 3+0 is the best for endgame strategy. What are you talking about? e4 was interesting before rook e1. e4, yeah, white's rook is bad on e1, but yeah, it's interesting you guys talk about that. It's true. Challenges, Guardian and Ghostmind. Ghostmind is next. So Liberian takes the pawn. I don't care about taking the pawn back. I don't really want to let him double my pawns. So I don't think the pawn's going anywhere fast. So maybe rook a8 and we just hate to move my rook again a third time though. Seems kind of ridiculous. Yeah, I can play e4, but it gives up the d4 square. Actually though, he would have to take with a knight. Rook. Take with the rook or with the e-pawn. The e-pawn would leave me structurally better. Strange position, really. Difficult for him to do anything. I have to watch for my b-pawn as well. I could take, though. I could take. It would weaken my white squares. Sorry about the board there. The Liberian plays so fast. It's like kind of disconcerting. Because I don't really. He doesn't ever give me any time to think. I have to think on my time. All right. I don't think it matters anymore about the c-file. I'm just going to go after the pawn. The pawn structure is really the only lasting thing in this position. So rook takes. We have pressure on the c and the a pawns. And I don't think he has a whole lot of counterplay. A little bit on my b pawn. I mean, I could even play bishop c8 if I have to defend it. So, also interesting is g6 at some point to play bishop f5. I think his intention was to play knight to g3, but it's pretty odd to play knight g3. If I can play h6 and you can't retreat after g4, you might have to sacrifice a piece. Knight c1. Now the other rook goes maybe to the c file. And between the pressure on the c and the a pawns, it should be pretty difficult for white. He's on my pawn there. Okay. Now I might even be able to play knight e4 for the first time. The first time to seriously consider playing knight e4. His queen is indirectly attacking my e5 pawn, but you know he doesn't want to give up the c pawn, a passed c pawn for me to try to get at that pawn. So now knight e4. He's prepared to play like bishop g3. So I think the time has come here. I have to be careful that everything is protected, but I kind of like this move. My knight is pretty active. Maybe I'm wrong, though. But I didn't like the idea of him playing bishop g3. It was going to be pretty awkward with my rook on c7. So I'm able to keep a slight structural advantage, hold everything together, and hopefully play f6, solidify my e5 pawn. Then finally my knight on c6 would be free to play offensively. It's been tied down to the e5 pawn the whole time. So, I don't know. I recommend he trade bishops because, yeah. So both sides pretty solid. I guess black is a little better. The 2 pawn islands against 1. We're threatening knight takes c3. That's pretty huge. I mean, it may not even be possible to defend against that. How do you protect c3? Knight e2 drops the a2 pawn. So the two weaknesses. Knight a5, drop the d5 pawn. Knight a5 hasn't really been on the table until now. Since my e5, even now, I mean, my e5 pawn is always targeted. So now it looks like Liberian's losing material. Or, yeah, I mean, even, yeah, he looks like he's going to have to do some sort of, like, sacrifice or something. Even, like, c4, knight c3 is interesting for me. So, it's a tactic. Knight takes c3, bishop takes c6, knight takes b1. That's okay for me. He has mate with queen b8 if I take back on c6. Now I think the most important thing in chess strategy is pawn structure, and you guys check out my chess video from yesterday on video chess training. I look at the game Giri versus maybe I should just take it. Knight on b5, but this is fine too. Giri, Kramnik versus Giri, man, he just tears him apart. Kramnik just tears Giri apart in a rapid game. It looks so harmless out of the opening, but once Giri just doesn't know what to do, Kramnik just takes total control. Very impressive. Just the slightest pawn structure advantage, and the way that Kramnik just dominates the game after that. Carlsen obviously capable of the same kind of technique. The smallest advantage for these players is sometimes enough. Kramnik now playing knight f3, g3 almost all the time. Speaking of King's Indian attack. But this game, the Giri game I analyze, is like a Neo Grunfeld. Not a King's Indian attack. Black plays here, I think, well, trading queens is fine. I'm up a pawn with very good pieces. So, simplifying is to my advantage. A pawn didn't go away. I mean, it's looking like the A pawn is... Which way should I take now? With the knight, maybe? Or maybe the knight can go to b4. I guess with the knight, because my rook can get hit by knight b3. So this is really unpleasant for white. We avoided Liberian's normal kind of London system. Now there, okay. Knight b1, knight takes b3, or rook a4. I think I have to refresh my webcam. The OBS does some weird stuff. It just, like, sometimes it doesn't want to play by the rules. The position is really very pleasant for me. And now just centralize my king, and it should be a technical win. If I get my king in the middle, I have a pawn up, better minor piece, and even, yeah, I wouldn't say a better structure. We both have isolated pawns. McCartney-esque. Heading to bed, 5 a.m. there. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to do that and hang out with us here. I'm playing a Sparklehorse on Lichess. Ghost Mind is up next. If you guys want to play with me, we have an hour left in the stream. And I think the fresh air, I opened the window, and it's been bad weather here in Budapest for over a week, but it's been raining pretty much for 8 days in a row. But right at the moment, it's not raining, just kind of overcast and cloudy. Sigh. The C3 Sicilian again. Spinal Tap Chess, are you still with us? C3 Sicilian is so popular and so annoying. And there really are two openings that I had a lot of trouble with in my career. One is the C3 Sicilian, and the other one was the Trompowsky. But after years of suffering against the Trompowsky and trying basically every legal setup for black, I think I finally found the best for me. But against the C3 Sicilian, I'm still not sure. I like D5 against the Trompowsky with the idea of G takes F6. Against the C3 Sicilian, I've had the best success with this G6, but there is no remedy, really. Although this isn't dangerous. E5. However, I can't play Bishop G4. I can play Bishop G4 check, but I can play Queen A4. I guess that's fine for me, though. Yeah. If Queen A4 check, Queen D7. If Bishop B5, Knight C6. Black is fine. But I can also play Bishop D7 against Queen A4 check. It would be funny here. Well, we would probably transpose. Though Ghostmine can try some really bizarre idea of moving his knight away from F3, maybe Queen A4, Queen D7, Knight G5, or Knight G1 or something. I'm not sure I like it. Spinal Chess, yes. Spinal Chess, I called you. It's so hard to say 3 syllables. 4 syllables. I count them, for that matter. Man, I don't even have a hangover, and I feel like I feel like I do. I don't know why. Good rest last night. I slept solid 7 or 8 hours. Now we transpose to a kind of hyper-accelerated dragon line where it's supposed to be good for me. And I should take on F3, I guess. Because sometimes white plays knight on b to d2, transposing to crime and Paschall. The horrible game I lost to Boris in the US Masters once. Although that's not really maybe critical. Just brings back bad memories. Queen b6 or e6. And the queen isn't well placed on f3 in these kind of positions. Black's plan is to just bear down on d4. Target d4. Target b2 maybe. If he doubles my pawns, it feels like a doubled pawn when he takes on c6. If he takes on c6, I've got to try to get that pawn forward to c5 as fast as possible. Ghostmine, we've played 3 games before. I like how Lichess keeps score of your record against another player, but my question is, like, what happens when it gets to the point where you've played like 150 games? I mean, is the whole bottom of the screen like filled up with little blocks? Or how does that work? Isn't this just a Caro-Kann where you play g6 weakening your dark squares? Yeah, well, Caro-Kann weakening the dark squares with g6 is a viable system, I guess. Yeah, I mean, this is related, definitely related to a Gurgenidze Caro-Kann, but I've got in c5, you know. It's like an improved Caro-Kann.